Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
I used to say cars are easier than people. You pop a hood and the truth is right there: belts, hoses, gaskets, leak lines like a map. People hide their leaks under cologne and small talk. Cars don't lie. They squeal, they smoke, they throw codes. Give me a socket set and a Saturday, and I can make a truck forgive its owner. Name's Carter Hill. I'm the guy at Riverside Auto who remembers your first car and your kid's birthday because you told me both while we waited on brake pads. Grease under the nails, cap turned backward, a decent jump shot on Thursdays behind the shop. I am, by most accounts, a good man. I thought that word good worked the way oil works in an engine, keeps everything moving nice and quiet. Turns out an engine can still seize if somebody pours sand in the valve cover. The best sound in my life used to be little feet slapping down the hall at 6 a.m. Daddy, pancakes. My boy had a giggle like a stuck squeaker. He loved monster trucks and cinnamon sugar. I would carry him like a football, kiss the top of his hair until he yelled hey, like a tiny referee, and we'd make a mess of the kitchen that I'd promised to clean before his mom got back from her morning scroll through Instagram. I loved being a dad so much it made my eyes water in grocery stores when I saw other dads high-fiving their kids. I loved my wife, too. Brianna had a stride that made doorways taller. She worked front office in a logistics company with a boss who collected watches and opinions. When we met, she said she liked my hands, said they looked capable. I told her that was the nicest thing anybody had ever said about a set of knuckles. I don't know when the shift happened. Maybe it was always happening and I was too busy changing oil to notice. Brianna started getting fancy about the world. She'd roll her eyes at my shop t-shirts and say things like, "Carter, can you try to look like you're not auditioning for a tire commercial?" She'd make jokes when friends came over. Jokes about how I smelled like a Jiffy Lube date or how Carter thinks a 401k is a spark plug. At first I laughed, because I like laughing and I like my wife. Then the jokes sharpened. She kept sharpening. At our boys' baseball game on a Saturday that tasted like sunscreen, she dropped her biggest joke yet. We were under the aluminum bleachers, third inning, sunshine making everyone honest. My son stood at second base poking the dirt with his cleat, helmet straight, chin up. He looked like a tiny astronaut. Brianna leaned forward to a nod of moms and said, "Low but not low enough, with the way Carter's been lately, I mean, are we even sure he's the father?" The air did that thing where it steps back from you. A couple moms made that polite cough sound people do when someone has torn the fabric of decency with a fork. I couldn't feel my feet. I stared at the chalk line and felt like I'd been pushed out of a moving car. When she caught my face, she smiled, all teeth. "Relax," she said. "It's a joke." My heart did not get the punchline. That night I tried to talk to her. She was scrolling again. Thumb going a mile a minute, blue light turning our living room into an aquarium. "Bree," I said, "what was that today?" "What was what?" "The thing you said about me being his dad." She didn't look up. "Oh my God, Carter, are you fragile? Stop making everything a thing." It felt cruel, I said, and the words sounded new in my mouth, like a tool I never thought I'd need. She put the phone down with a careful little click. "Here's the thing. If you ever embarrass me in public again with your little sulk, I'll take the house, I'll take support, and I'll tell the court you're unstable, okay? Go change a tire about it." Threat was not new in our house. It had just never put on a suit and come to dinner like that. I slept on my side of the bed, facing the wall, staring at our wedding photo where my tie was crooked and she'd kissed it straight. I wish I could say I handled everything with cowboy stoicism. I didn't. I unraveled like a cheap sweater. I worked longer hours because cars didn't ask me if I was a man. I stared at the ceiling at 3 a.m. and counted all the things I was not. I stopped playing half-court on Thursdays. I stopped listening to music. When a buddy at the shop cracked a joke about my ball and chain, I smiled the way you smile after biting tinfoil. The test wasn't my idea. It was my punishment. We were in the kitchen on a Tuesday morning. Our son was practicing a presentation on volcanoes for school with a shoebox and red tissue paper. Brianna leaned against the counter with that bored lioness energy. "Let's just do a test," she said, sipping coffee. For your peace of mind. For mine? Yep, she said. If you're so wounded by jokes, prove the joke is a joke. 3 days later I stood with a cotton swab in a room that smelled like disinfectant and hope. A week after that, an email arrived with a PDF that might as well have been a meteor. I read the words 3 times because my brain refused to know them. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. People talk about heartbreak like a punch. This wasn't a punch. This was a sinkhole. The street looks fine, then the earth swallows it. I walked to the bathroom, turned on the shower so our boy wouldn't hear, and sat on the floor while the water fogged the mirror so I didn't have to see the man who had loved every second of a lunch. Brianna read the email and made a face like she'd spilled coffee on a new blouse. Well, she said, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about how this goes. You're going to keep it together in public. You're going to sign what I need you to sign. You're going to keep the house because I don't feel like moving him to an apartment. You'll pay support until this settles. If you make a scene, I will bury you in affidavits. My son, I said, and my voice cracked on the word like a bad belt. Our son, she corrected, with a tinny laugh. The law is a funny thing, Carter. Judges love moms. Especially moms with letters from bosses about how essential they are. That night I went to the shop after close and just sat on the little stool we used to reach oil filters on tall F-150s. I watched the bay door like it might present a solution. You ever notice how a shop is loud even when it's quiet? Metal cooling, compressors exhaling, the world looking for excuses to keep talking. My buddy Luke texted to ask if I was coming for Thursday ball. I typed busy and put the phone face down on the concrete. Here's where the story changes. Not because a miracle fell out of the ductwork, but because of a friend named Margot. Assistant district attorney. Played shortstop in high school so mean the other team just bunted to avoid the bruise. Margot has been my friend since we were both idiots with learner's permits. She comes by the shop sometimes to get her tires rotated and to remind me that her brain is a lethal weapon and she knows where I live. I hadn't told her the whole mess. Pride is a dumb lock. She broke it. Why do you look like a man who swallowed a wrench sideways, she said, leaning on the counter in a navy blazer that could cut glass. I told her. Not all the adjectives, but all the nouns. The bleachers. The threat. The test. The PDF. She listened like a prosecutor and a sister. Okay, she said. First, I'm sorry. Second, breathe. Third, let's separate feelings from facts. Feelings later. Facts now. She pulled a pen from behind her ear and tapped the counter. You are not a piñata. Stop acting like one. I don't want revenge, I said. I want my life back. Then you want accountability, she said. Good news. The universe invented paper for that. Tell me about Brianna's boss. Guy named Leonard, I said. Suits that look like they have health insurance. Runs logistics like it's his religion. She said. Company does any funny stuff? How would I know? You wouldn't, she said. But sometimes people who talk like Brianna talk also work for people who think taxes are a suggestion. She took out a card and scribbled. I'm not your lawyer. I'm your friend who knows how to point. You need a family attorney yesterday. Separate bank accounts. Document everything. And Carter? Yeah. Stop apologizing to people who hurt you. Margot made calls. Not on my behalf, she said, because ethics are real, but on behalf of the truth, because truth doesn't have hands. She tipped a colleague in the white-collar unit to look at Leonard's house of cargo. Meanwhile I did the slow adult things. I got a lawyer. I moved money like a responsible squirrel. I logged interactions with Brianna. I did not, much as my hurt wanted me to, scream on Facebook. I slept on the couch and told my boy bedtime stories about monster trucks jumping the moon because love doesn't check DNA before it tucks you in. Brianna doubled down. She told me the court will eat you alive. She told me nobody will believe a grease monkey over a mom. She told me lines that would have broken me a month earlier and now just made me sad for the person she'd become. She wore new things. Her smile got expensive. Margot's white-collar friend, the one with the whisper that could cut rope, Called her back. She called me. You didn't hear it from me, Margot said, but someone heard it from someone that Leonard's company likes to play shell games with invoices. Stuff like routing shipments through a consultant that's also his cousin, double billing storage, ghost employees. That's called fraud when the state's hungry. What does that have to do with us? Two paths, she said. Path 1. Character. It is relevant when someone who threatens to smear you draws a paycheck from a smear factory. Path 2. Leverage. If he's in trouble, the letters he writes for Brianna matter less, and the fear she's trading on goes poof. I got quiet. The possible edge of fairness showed under the door, like light under a shop bay at sunrise. In the meantime, I had to face the legal facts on my side of the street. The test wasn't a spell. The judge still had to untangle support, custody, the house. I braced. I showed up to court in a tie that made me itch. Brianna walked in crisp and ready, Leonard's company letter framed like a halo, Brianna is a vital asset, a model of integrity, etc. Her lawyer did the thing where they say your name like they're calling a dog. My lawyer, a calm woman who probably wins arguments in her sleep, kept it boring. Judges love boring. She laid out the timeline. The test. The threats. The bleachers. She asked the judge to suspend any child support order pending full clarification, given the paternity results and a genuine question of fraud by omission. She asked for an evidentiary hearing. She didn't call Brianna names. She didn't need to. Brianna's side made confident noises. Women are often the primary caregivers. Instability in the home. Carter's job is variable. The judge nodded the nod of a man who has heard every adjective twice. He set dates. He asked for documents. He frowned at jokes used like knives in front of children. We walked out into the hallway and breathed the air of men who have not won but have not lost. Then the big shoe fell. Not on me. The state announced an investigation into Leonard's company. Headlines with verbs. Words like fraud, scheme, shell. Agents at an office that had too many ficus plants. Margot texted me a single baseball emoji. I texted back a single wrench. Brianna acted insulted by gravity. It's political, she said, and waved her hand as if politics clears math. Leonard will be fine. The first hearing in our case arrived on a Wednesday with a bad sky. We sat in a courtroom with that neutral carpeting every courtroom has, and my lungs tried to audition for a stress commercial. Brianna took the stand in a cream suit that made me think of the fancy creamer she liked for her coffee back when we shared a kitchen and kindness. She denied the bleacher joke was serious. She denied threatening me. She insisted any mean lines were bending and taken out of context. Then my lawyer asked her about our boy's conception timeline and 2 business trips with a coworker whose name is not mine. The truth limped in, late, but ready to testify. My lawyer called me. I spoke like a man changing a tire in the rain, steady, focused, refusing to let the lug nuts roll away. I said I loved this child. I said I would keep loving this child. I said I would not be a wallet for lies. I said I wanted fairness, not fire. I did not cry. I did not curse. I explained how threats land in a man's chest and make even good hearts weird. We took a recess. Margot found me by a water fountain that has been broken since the Bush administration and pressed a bottle into my hand. Breathe, she said. Also, the white-collar unit just executed a search warrant at Leonard's consultant office. Guess what they found? What? Nothing. Because it doesn't exist. We went back in. The judge took his seat like an ump dusting the plate. He spoke in paragraphs that were not movies, but they were just as in the Midwest. Plain, careful, with verbs that work. Here's what this court knows today, he said. There was deception. There were threats. There were attempts to weaponize the process. There was a child put in the middle by adult choices. There is also a father, perhaps not by biology, but by conduct, who has acted with restraint when lesser men would have broken. The court finds credible evidence of infidelity and misrepresentation. The court takes notice, without weighing guilt, of a criminal investigation into an entity central to Ms. Hill's professional support. Accordingly, temporary relief is granted. Mr. Hill is not ordered to pay child support pending final adjudication. Any claim to alimony is reserved and will be decided after financial disclosures. Custody and visitation are to proceed in the best interests of the child with a guardian ad litem assigned. Further, the court admonishes both parties to refrain from defamatory statements, particularly in front of the child. He paused. Papers shuffled, making that legal ocean sound. "One more note," he said, and looked at Brianna. "Threats, explicit or implied, about home and livelihood are an abuse of the process. Do not repeat them." Brianna's jaw did a thing I'd never seen it do. It asked for humility and got denial. Leonard, in the back row in a suit that had lost its swagger, checked his phone like it might offer an alibi. 2 weeks later, the state unwrapped more of Leonard's present. Under investigation turned into under indictment. Charges for falsified invoices, wire fraud, the greatest hits. His house of cargo turned out to be a house of cards. The letter about Brianna's integrity evaporated in the sunlight of subpoenas. Final day. Same courtroom, different weather. The judge read findings that used words like adultery, misrepresentation, and attempted fraud upon the court. He dismissed any claim for alimony. He recognized my history with the child without anchoring me to a ledger for I. He ordered that financial costs incurred by Brianna's actions be assigned to her, not me. He referred certain statements from Brianna's filings to the district attorney for review. He referred certain business matters to the state AG with a face that said playtime is over. On the courthouse steps, the air tasted like metal and rain. My hands shook. Margot hugged me with one arm in a way that said we're not hug people but today we are. I did not feel triumphant. I felt clean. That's better. I took a week off. The shop survived. Luke sent me 15 badly spelled texts and a photo of the crew holding a sign that said hurry back, the customers are asking for the handsome one, not you, Carl. I laughed for the first time in months and it sounded like a torque wrench clicking at the right spec. Then I did something nobody would have put on their bingo card when all this started. I signed papers on a little cinder block box 2 miles down from Riverside Auto, across from the donut place that makes sinners of us all. I hung a sign that said Hill's Garage in letters I painted myself, straight enough to count. I ordered lifts and a compressor and a fridge for Cokes and the kind of cheap office coffee that tastes like hope when you're tired. I scrubbed the floor till it reflected a little like pride. First day, I unlocked the door at 7 a.m. and flipped the open sign with a hand that didn't shake. My first customer was a nurse whose Civic sounded like it swallowed silverware. My second was a farmer whose F-250 had opinions about hills. My third was a teacher who used to be scared of mechanics and now brings her car to me because she says I explain things like I'm explaining fractions. We worked. We laughed. We wiped our hands on rags that had been t-shirts in another life. I named a service special after a joke I finally earned the right to tell. The Fresh Start package, oil, filters, and a promise I won't talk down to you. People loved it. A local blog did a piece, Mechanic opens shop after courtroom drama. Somebody left a 1-star review because I didn't have hazelnut creamer. I framed it. It keeps me honest. Do I still love that boy? With every bolt in my body. Biology's a good mechanic. It's not the only one. We toss a ball on Sundays. I go to his games. When a stray parent asks a stray stupid question, so how does that work now? I say, it works with kindness and a schedule. He calls me Carter sometimes, Dad most times, and once, in the car after we got soft pretzels and yelled at a radio, he said, "You're my guy." I had to pull over and pretend to check a tire. I'm not bitter. I am older. The mirror knows. The man looking back knows too. He knows that love without truth is a bad gasket. It leaks, then it blows. He knows that people who wave papers full of threats usually can't stand the kind of paper that doesn't blink, invoices, emails, bank records, sworn statements. He knows that friends who bring a law degree and a baseball bat named Margot should be fed tacos whenever they want. Sometimes I lock up the shop at dusk and lean on the doorway, a king of 1,400 square feet. The sign clicks as the timer kills it. The lot hums with cicadas and the whisper of donuts being fried across the street. I think about the Carter who sat on a shop stool and believed he was whatever someone else said he was. Then I think about the Carter who got up, said no without yelling, and built something that would carry weight. Life didn't end in that courtroom. It started again. It started with a key turning in a new lock and a bell that rings when a neighbor walks in needing help. It started with grease that smells like work and a register that dings like music and a calendar where Thursday nights say ball with the guys again. It started with me, a good man, not because somebody called me that, but because I showed up for it. If your check engine light is on, swing by Hills. I'll read the codes and tell you the truth even if it's not what you want to hear. I'll fix what's broken. I'll send you off safe. That's the promise. Cars don't lie. These days, I try not to either. Thank you for listening my story. If you want more raw, real, and gripping stories like this one, subscribe to the AEN Stories channel. Your support keeps these stories alive.